Okay, so final week of spring practice, and I think one of the challenges for us is to continue to charge forward, right? That a lot of times you hit this last week and everyone gets focused on the spring game, and we were really focused on practice 13, and I thought it was a good hard-nosed physical practice today. Some different elements. Humidity was obviously higher today, which is good for us. We need elements. We play in elements when the year comes, and so understanding that we control what we can control and not get consumed with the things that are out of our control, like the weather, and focusing on the task of what I need to do, play in and play out, I think is really important for the guys. So today was good for that. I think just a quick snapshot of Saturday that kind of poured into today. I thought Quinn played excellent Saturday, had a very good practice again today, which was encouraging because I think that part of that is rapport with the receivers, that the timing and things of that nature are really starting to come into the fold here now, which is what spring practice is for. We can only do so much of that prior to spring ball. So to work on those things has been good. I thought Saturday, Manny Muhammad definitely made some plays Saturday. Dre Bledsoe made some plays up front. You could kind of feel, especially in the second half and some of the more passing things that we were doing, Trey Moore and Colin Simmons' effect getting to the quarterback. Thought Andrew Makuba played a really physical scrimmage Saturday, which was good to see. We don't get to be live all the time in practice, and so when it went live, he definitely showed up in that aspect of it. So that was good. And then there's some other guys that I thought took a step forward today coming off of what Saturday scrimmage was. And, I thought Arch had probably arguably his best practice today coming out of Saturday. I thought Isaiah Bond really showed up today. I'm trying to think through few things defensively. I definitely think Anthony Hill, you felt him more today coming out of Saturday scrimmage. So again, we're definitely still a work in progress, but I like the fact that the majority of the guys are improving, right? And that's the goal in this thing as we go through spring practice. I don't expect anybody to be a finished product after 15 practices of spring ball. But it should give us a really good snapshot of the things that each guy needs to focus on and work on throughout the summer to get himself prepared for fall camp. And that not only individual players, but I think for us on offense, defense, and special teams from a schematic standpoint, so that we're playing to the strengths of our team. It's not just about having a big old playbook and trying to run every play. It's about putting our players in the best position to be successful. And I think we're starting to get some real information now of what we might start to look like here when the fall rolls around.
So Dre, what did you see from him Saturday that maybe you hadn't seen?
Well, I think he's starting to cut it loose a little bit more, when you're kind of moving positions, like he's played defensive end, he's played inside, there's a lot of thinking, there's a lot of how am I playing this block, what gap, so on and so forth. I felt like he cut it loose and you could feel his pass rush Saturday in the scrimmage, and he's probably one of the more athletically gifted players on our team as a defensive lineman. And when he plays to his strengths, you can feel his impact on the team when he's out there.
So kind of an out of the box question, because you talked about Quinn and the time with receivers. Just curious, some numbers have shown that downfield passing, both the NFL level and college, is down a little bit. Just curious as a play caller, how crucial is it to challenge the defense vertically? Because you've talked about in the past, you can have a guy like X getting the ball in his hands quickly and still have a 60-yard gain. As a play caller, how crucial is it to be able to challenge the defense vertically over the top as opposed to just plays that get made in that sense?
I think you want to have both. I think naturally the best offenses are the ones that do the most really well, right? It's tough to be a really good offensive football team when you're one-dimensional. If you don't have the threat of taking the top off a defense, now they start to sit on a lot of your routes that are underneath. If you don't have good receivers, but you can run the ball well, at some point the running game is going to get difficult because now they're committing more to the run. And so I do think, defenses have become more aware of trying to keep the ball in front of them. But that doesn't mean you can't create explosive plays, to your point. You can find quick-hitting plays, crossing routes, things of that nature to create explosive plays. But if you never have the threat of that, then the field starts to shrink on you. And so that's when it comes down to not only a play caller, but then a quarterback decision-making, right? We're going to have shots available to the quarterback, but when that guy's double covered, safety's over the top, now there should be some voids in the intermediate range and even in some of the check down areas where that runner can catch the ball. And sometimes that's one of the challenges as a quarterback. We think, checking a ball down to a running back in the flat and it doesn't look like much, and you look up and it's a gain of 16 yards. That's the equivalent to hitting an in cut and a guy getting tackled for 16 yards. Those are the same amount of yards. And so forcing people to defend all of that, I think, is what we always try to do. And then attack a defense accordingly of who they are when they come to present us.
You got those carries on the running backs. You got a pretty good room there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too overly concerned with that right now. What I do know is, I think that there's a nice combination of CJ and Jaden right now, of those two working together. I think Trey Wisner has been a really nice addition to getting him in that rotation with those two, because he can play both spots. He can be a backfield guy, he can be a move guy, and he's got enough pass receiving skills and things. So that's been helpful. And then all those other three guys are really on the come. I mean, what Savion has shown because of what he did at receiver and last year at running back. But then the two young backs, probably today, I woid say is Jarrett Gibson's best day, and 13 practices in, which is kind of what you'd hope for. I thought Saturday Christian Clark had a really good day. So those guys are coming too, and they're both versatile guys. And so frontline wise, when the season rolls around, I think we'll have a pretty good idea when we get there. But we're comfortable right now of, if a guy's rolling and we can feed him, we're more than ready to feed whoever that guy is.
Sugar Bowl, where you seem to have a really
that felt good. I wish we could have ran it more in the second half. We fell behind in the game, but so it felt like we had a good balance in the first half of that game. But that's sometimes that's the way games go, right? And so you got to play to the game. You have a game plan going in, and then you have to have the ability to adjust accordingly as you get going in a ball game.
Coach, you talked about competitive nature, that you bring in players when you recruit them, you want extreme competitive. We talked to Gunnar Helm last week, and he's clearly eating raw meat for breakfast and lunch. Is there anybody in the spring that has shown you that they have a competitive nature that you didn't even expect?
Oh, I don't know if I didn't expect it from any of them, or we probably wouldn't have recruited them. We try to identify that's one characteristic that is kind of a prerequisite coming into our program. And if they don't have it, it's tough, because it's just a hard environment if that's not at your core of one of the things that is a strength of yours. And so I don't know anything if there would be one that is just unexpected. All our guys battle and compete and are working hard. But I do think, like a guy, for example, Juan Davis, sometimes when you're a scout team player and you're kind of in the background a little bit with JT and Gunnar, that maybe not all of your competitive spirit gets to come out all of the time. But now that he's really rolling and he's in there with the ones and he's playing good football, I'm probably seeing more of his competitive spirit than maybe before. We knew it was in there, but now there's more coming out of him. And so that's kind of an example of that.
Steve, guys who are known commodities, guys like Quinn and Vernon Brock and Alfred, how much will those guys play in the spring game versus maybe guys that you need to see more?
I don't know yet. We haven't nailed all that down yet. We'll probably work on that Wednesday. Again, we are fortunate this spring, as opposed to probably the last 3 springs, of just the number of bodies that we have available to us. Now we got to make 2 teams out of this thing. And so how much some of those guys play will remain to be seen, but definitely I want our young guys to get a great experience in playing Saturday, because I think it's really valuable for them to have to go into the stadium with the crowd there and get used to some of that. It's different, and we have to expose them to that to get them ready.
But you had mentioned Arch, so I'm just kind of curious, what did he do so well that you like today? Do you feel like this quarterback room as a whole is maybe stronger and you've had it, since you've been here?
I mean, it's been, it's kind of grown throughout the years. I mean, there's nothing like having a third-year starting quarterback. I mean, we haven't had that luxury in our time here. I think the one thing that Arch really did today, I thought he did a really good job of stepping up in the pocket, keeping his eyes down the field, and delivering the ball under some duress very accurately. And Arch, the thing about him that I think most people probably don't give him enough credit for, he is a really good athlete, and he's big, he's strong, and he's fast. And sometimes he'll lean into using his legs to create explosive plays. We saw that in the Tech game when he got in last year. His legs became an advantage for him. And we like that, but we want that to almost be the last resort. I want him to have a real sense and a feel of stepping up in the pocket, making these throws, and when he has to use his legs, use them, which he did today. But I thought he made a few throws today in our team period that he didn't make Saturday and hadn't made, and that was a big step for him in my opinion. But the room in of itself has been good. Trey's been a great addition. I'll give this other guy credit who's been in the program, Cole Lord, who's now getting some reps here as our 14 guy. His game has improved immensely. I mean, he's operating at a high level. I think he was 5 for 5 on Saturday in the scrimmage when he was in there. So I think the room as a whole is playing at a pretty high level.
You kind of touched on it a little bit, but do you have an overall format for Saturday? And as a coach, how do you tinker with the format each year? Or is there kind of set thing you like to do?
No, we haven't nailed it down yet. It's always predicated on who's available, right? But again, I think that we do have the bodies this year where we can play a game. I think every year you have to tinker with it. We've had years where we haven't had enough linemen to make 2 teams, and we had to play it offense versus defense. So we'll have to navigate that. Some years you play live all the way through. Some years you play live in the first half and thud in the second half, and you try not to go to the ground because of bodies maybe at safeties or different positions. So we'll navigate all that tomorrow as a staff and try to put 2 competitive teams together, so that, 1, our guys get great experience and a lot of guys can play, and 2, give our fans a sense and a feel for the type of team that we have.
Do you have a number of plays in your mind that you would like to get done Saturday at least?
No.
Not
yet.
Do you have an idea?
Open. So kind of a general question. I think the SEC is the only conference that doesn't allow, transfers within the conference.
Yes.
Is that policy sustainable, do you think, as conferences grow? And you have 16 teams in the conference?
I don't. So the hypothetical stuff is really hard for me because of we're just changing. I almost feel like weekly. There's more things that they're going to go meet on a new rule. Technically, they can transfer in conference. They just have to sit a year, right? So it goes back to what was the original rule. So, it's going to remain to be seen. Is there forever going to be 2 windows for the transfer portal? Is it going to go to 1? As of right now, these are the rules we got. And then how do we navigate those rules in the best interest of our current players, right? And those guys that think, maybe it's time that I move on, as well as who might enter the portal from other schools. And it takes a lot of work. I mean, it's not easy. You start adding up all the schools and guys just start populating the portal. How do you do your due diligence? We can say, we'd love to get an interior defensive lineman. And just because a guy jumps in and you guys all right, he's good and we should take him, he might not be a fit for us, right? And so we have to do our due diligence on everybody to make sure that whoever we bring into the program is a good fit, not only schematically, but also culturally for the team.
There's so many new faces at receiver. Do you have a feel for, if the season started today, who you're,
tough to say. They're all playing well. They're all doing some good things. I thought we had a few too many drops Saturday, but naturally that was our first real scrimmage in the stadium, and that we kind of changed the environment on them. We went back in the stadium today just for that very reason. I think depth perception, things of that nature, it's a little bit different than when you're just exposed up on Denius. And so, that's part of it as a coach. And we were better today. And so a lot of guys are doing some things. I mean, Parker Livingstone had a big-time touchdown Saturday when we hadn't really been talking about him, and he showed a great deal of speed, running away from the defense. And so I'm proud of that groom. They're working hard. I think their commitment to the running game is really starting to show. It showed again today. because when they commit to the running game, that's how our run game can get started and we can create explosive runs. And then that's how the RPOs and the play action pass can come off all that stuff.
With your upcoming draft class, you've kind of talked about what this group has meant to you from when they started. I know focus right now is on the spring game, but I mean, what is next week, that 72 hours, going to mean for you in this program? It's obviously a big difference than it has been.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. I was talking to a friend of mine this morning, to think after year one, we had 0 players drafted. And that was kind of astonishing to me. I was at the University of Texas, and we didn't have 1 player drafted. Year 2, we had 5 players drafted, and that was a great moment for us with Bijan going in the first round. And then coming out of year 3, to have 11 players invited to the NFL Combine. And we'll see how many of those guys get drafted. I hope all of them do. I think is a tribute to that group of guys and their commitment to the program, their commitment to the coaches, to the strength staff, to the training staff. I think it's a credit to our coaching staff, our ability to develop the players in our program when they're in our program, to try to get the best out of them. But I also think that it's a lesson learned on really good teams that win championships, that compete for national championships. With team success comes the individual accolades, honors, and achievements. It doesn't go the other way. So year 1, we're 5-7. We have 0 players drafted. Year 2, we go 8-5. We have 5 players drafted. Year 3, we're 12-2 conference champs. I got 11 guys going to the NFL Combine. It's not rocket science, that when you commit to the team and you commit to the hard work, you commit to the culture, you do those things, naturally you start to play a little better football when you're part of a culture that is winning. And so hopefully we can continue to build upon that moving forward, because I do think there's a real recipe for success for the team, but also for the individual players in our program. But I couldn't be more happy and proud of this group of guys that are going to the NFL. I hope they all land in really good places and start the next chapter of their life.
So was the defense win the scrimmage again Saturday?
The scoreboard didn't work. I don't know.
You were there.
I think there was moments for both sides. I thought the defense did make some plays, especially when we were having to travel the length of the field. The defense was not giving up explosive plays, which was a huge deal. I thought our second offensive line in particular struggled in pass protection, and they were kind of behind the sticks. But in the red area, I thought the offense performed really well, which for me, I was pleased with, knowing that we had struggled in the red area a year ago, and it's been a point of emphasis of ours offensively, that the execution in the red area all spring long has been high, which has been encouraging. I know we've been an excellent red area defensive team, so I don't want to fall too far away from that, but the fact that in that phase of the scrimmage, I thought the offense did some really good things. And then the defense clearly won the 2-minute drill at the end. So I would probably, kind of went both ways, and depending on what we were emphasizing in each period. Yeah. I think Manny had a pick, and actually Manny probably forced a fumble. I was looking for the replay guy. They wouldn't let me review the play. The officials called it an incomplete pass, so we went with incomplete pass.
So has it been surreal for you, talking about the NFL and the players, for a player to be into the NFL Hall of Fame without even being drafted yet? Talking about Xavier Worthy, his shoes and his jersey, they asked him to put that into the Hall of Fame. Did it have an impact on the players today to reinforce your message of when you're about the team, individual accolades come?
We emphasize that, and I think our team understands it. I think as it's so clear, right? When I just point to the 3 years in a row and what it looks like, I don't have to belabor that point, but I don't neglect it either. I definitely be clear in that messaging to get that point across to the guys. And sometimes for the younger players, it takes them a minute to grasp that as quickly. But as you invest in the program 2, 3, 4 years for some guys that have been in our program, and Alfred Collins, for example, that they'll reap the benefits of it in the end. But the commitment to the team is the most important.
How's Jade Barron doing?
He's doing good. We've limited Jade some this spring. the history of his time here, he's had nagging things throughout the last couple of years. And I know it in the best interest of Texas football is to get Jahdae Barron as healthy and as fresh and as fast as he can be come the fall. And so I know he's more than capable. He's a really good football player for us. He's tough, he's physical, he's savvy, he's a good leader. And the fact that we've got some good depth right now that we've kind of limited / monitored how many reps we're giving him. But he'll be fine. He'll be ready to go. When the fall rolls around, he'll be flying.
If
Two last ones, guys.
If a guy doesn't pop during the spring, can they make that up in the
Pop
summer
meaning?
and stand out, to you guys from your point of view? Can they make that up in the summer and in the training camp portion of it, or is it kind of?
No, for sure they can. This is spring practice. The goal for us is when we finish Saturday, and next week we do our exit meetings with every player, and we sit down with them and we walk them through what we think their strengths are, where we think maybe some of their weaknesses are, things that we want them to work on, what their weight room numbers look like, how they do with recovery in the training room, how they're doing academically, and we give them a full snapshot, 360-degree snapshot of where they're at in the program, and then we give them, here's what we want you to work on. That can change. That can change physically. That can change a mindset. That can change the work ethic. And so I don't hold anybody to where they are after these 15 practices. I'm more concerned about where are we come August 31st. And that's as individuals, but the individuals are what ultimately make up our team.
Is there
Anybody that won't be active Saturday for the spring game?
I don't know yet. We'll figure all that tomorrow. Yeah.
Steve, when you recruit the portal, is it possible, especially coming after spring, is it possible to have a discussion with a player and say, hey, we have a role for you on this team. It might not be 50, 60, 70 plays, but we have a role for you that's 20 to 25 plays, and it's kind of how this conversation goes out.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. And I think one thing our players hopefully appreciate from me and from us as a staff is we're really honest with our players, and I try not to give false dreams. I give them where I think they can go, where they're at currently, and typically what the role will look like come the fall. But that can change predicated on how well we do on, getting better at some of the things we're working on. But I never try to bring a guy in and just, hey, tell a guy, hey, you're gonna get 25 carries a game when he's running with the fours right now, just to try to, hey, stay here. Because what am I going to get come August 31st? I'm going to have a disgruntled player on the sidelines saying I lied to him, that we're not following through with what we said we were going to do. And so we try to be honest with them. We try to tell them what they need to work on, and if we were playing today, what their role would look like. But if they can get better at these 3, 4, 5, 6 things, whatever that looks like, that role can increase for you when fall camp rolls around.